Okay, so yeah, here's the deal, everyone. Uh, peace out. This is never about trying to belittle anyone uh, or this is not about criticizing anyone at all. If I ever said anything that is like sounds provocative in some way, it's just to get people's attention because I would just very much love to be able to talk to more people about this. So that's it. So if you type in, if you just do a very simple search here, on a very fundamental force, here in nature, this is something that we were never taught to think in terms of pressure gradient right here, pressure gradient force. You learn you kind of learn it in school. You learn that stuff moves from high pressure to low pressure, but that does not carry over into physics properly. So physics is mostly completely doomed basically, but by this mind virus that is QR. Excuse me, that is GR, general relativity, which is trying to make people think that space and time are somehow warped and changed, and it's this curvature of space time that is actually causing gravity and all these things, and it's not. It's very simple. It's if you just type in this here, pressure gradient force. This is a very fundamental thing that you would have looked around as you were a little kid. As little kids, you look around and you look at the sunshine, you feel the leaves, you pet your cat, you feel different textures, you experience different temperatures, and all this stuff as you grow up. You gradually start to look around and understand this stuff as a kid, but unfortunately, when we get older, we're taught to think in terms of we're taught to think that instantaneous action at a distance. I don't have my magnets here, but we're taught to think that magnetism is some kind of is mediated by some kind of particles with some very abstract mathematics behind it that very few people can understand. But if you just go up to anyone who claims to be a physics professional, they can't even explain what magnetism is, why magnets attract or repel each other, or what it is that you feel between them when you bring them close to each other. So this is the exact same. This is the principle. Let's just cut to the chase.
The commands of the pilot in terms of what he wants to do in terms of shaping the field around the vehicle.
So you did hear that word, the field. So you shape the field. You shape the pressure gradients, and this is how these craft work. And these craft have been around since, believe it or not, since before the 50s. I have friends in New Zealand that saw electrogravitic craft flying around in the early 2000s or in the late 90s. People were talking about this. It was very rare. You didn't see them often, but some people happened to chance upon this when they were being flown in New Zealand. And also a lot of around they can fly very fast. This kind of technology here can get from one part of the world to the other in a very, very short amount of time. So it's not likely that it was anything from the New Zealand military or the New Zealand government or any government body or corporate organization in New Zealand. I doubt it. Probably coming from somewhere very, very far away. But nonetheless human made, not extraterrestrial. But this is how this technology works. Okay, this is exactly how how a lifter works. How one of these crafts here work. We call them an asymmetrical capacitor. You see, meaning there is a larger plate, a larger electrode on one side, and a smaller electrode on one side, and all that does is it creates a non-uniform field, which creates a lower pressure gradient above the craft, which, so you can see how these, you can see how this stuff flies. So it does work, but of course, you have people like this guy here, everyone claiming that it's ion wind, and of course ion wind is involved because it's creating a pressure gradient around it. It's creating a lower pressure gradient, so of course the air around it will circulate around the craft, but that is not the primary. I'll repeat that. That is not the primary prima causa. That is not the primary. That is not the primary cause of the lift. You can put, he's gone now, but you can put, the circular one. Where is it? Oh, it's gone. That's weird. Maybe YouTube deleted it just now as I'm trying to find it. That's really weird. That one is just completely gone now. The one I just saw. Who knows? Maybe the Black Ops dude saw it and took it off. That is really weird. It was under exactly the same search. Let me try and search it again. Nope, it's gone. That is very fucking weird. But yeah, you create a lower pressure gradient above the craft, and so of course the air will circulate around it. It is not due to ion wind, and you have people at MIT nowadays. Where is this fucking thing? Oh, here. That they think this is ion wind. So where is the? Oh yeah, there we go. So they engineer this thing with the idea that this is ion wind. So you can see, as I showed you, that you have the larger electrode on one side and then the smaller electrode on the other to create a field gradient difference, higher pressure and lower pressure, and therefore that creates a non-Newtonian thrust. But these people, they still think this is due. They think that the ion wind is the prima causa, is what causes the thrust, but it is not. So they actually engineer this thing in an incredibly inefficient way, thinking that this is ion wind. So it's purely because of this mind virus that they have engineered it this way. If you're smart, you will engineer it this way, okay? To create a big enough field around the craft, which requires a little bit more voltage to accomplish. But let me show you how that is done. Let's see here. If we can just find. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So
was to the very top, and they were.
So you have at the bottom here very, very
spaced at even distances, and he said in each one there.
Where is it? Yeah, you have a very large capacitor at the bottom, and then it kind of goes into it. But yeah,
stroking right through the middle of the craft, which happened to be where there was this large central column. Now, the central column was supposed to be the.
Yeah, you have there we go. A capacitor at the bottom, a very, very large capacitor, which has. I have a diagram of it here. Actually, I drew it right here. You have a very large capacitor at the bottom here, which you can decide which plates to energize, and that is what creates the pressure difference around the craft, and that is what causes it to move. So, the exact same force that is pulling us to our seats now is the same thing. It's because of a pressure gradient. Okay, it's not this curvature of space-time. And of course, people will point to the fact that satellites, GPSs, need a special relativity calculation to correct the time, because the satellite's going that way, the Earth's going this way. The time in the satellite speeds up by so and so much down up there, and it slows down by so and so much down here, or vice versa. I can't remember. And then they have to, minus time and add time and figure out what's the right time to be able to, pinpoint exactly where people are on their GPS. But that is not the result of any curvature of space-time. That is simply the result of what is called electromagnetic retardation. which is a good analogy for that is like if you shoot a bullet underwater, of course the bullet will slow down, and that is exactly what is happening up there in those craft, because the faster they are flowing, the faster they are traveling through the electromagnetic field is causing a resistance to every single electron, which is going around every single atom. Not such a good way to explain it, because electrons don't really exist in that way, but for lack of a better way to explain it, as the satellite is going through, it's creating a resistance to the craft as well. So that is actually what is slowing down the passing of magnitude all the time. So it is not due to it is not due to what they are telling us, which is some curvature of space-time. It doesn't exist. Very simply, this is how you get from A to B in the cosmos. It would take like probably less than $100,000 to build one of these craft to get it operational. And this is our human right, really. This is a sovereign human right, just the same way as that you were allowed to build a boat. You can pick up a whole bunch of driftwood and build a boat or a raft on the beach and go sailing in the ocean. The same principle really should apply to be able to go out there. Now, I've personally spoken with people who know that's or actually, I'll give you an example. American anti-gravity. Let me show you this one here. American anti-gravity. So these guys, let's see here. American anti-gravity. You can see here, American anti-gravity. These guys. Yeah. So they're only allowed to do so much. These guys have tried, and I personally, I know this for a fact. And yeah, the NSA, they have basically shut them down, or they have confiscated materials from these people right here. This is a fact. You can look this up and you can find the documents, because they've tried to build more scaled up versions of these lifters here, because they see the same sovereign right. They're like, what the fuck, man? We should be able to, the same way as anyone's allowed to build a boat, go in the ocean, we should also be allowed to build an electrogravitic craft and fly out in space out there. Why not? This is our sovereign right as a human being. But no, the NSA or whoever the fuck, Black Ops dudes, whatever in the US, they've confiscated these people's, more scaled up and more, a little bit more sophisticated materials which they put together, and these people very much would like to build stuff, but they've been stopped. They're only allowed to build very small, lifters, very small, like this type of thing here, this type of thing here, just this type of thing here, this type of thing here. They're allowed to do that. But the thing is, as soon as you build something decent that demonstrates the field propulsion technology, if you're not careful, these people will shut you down. So it is actually, in some, National Security Act somewhere. I don't know how it works here in Denmark. Like if I would build something on a decent scale here to go around and show people, I don't know if someone would come and shut me down, but I would just tell them to go fuck themselves and say, look, this is my fucking sovereign right to build, just the same as anyone can go sail in the motherfucking ocean. I also have the same goddamn right to go out there. And, so yeah, I'm just, expressing my sovereign right as a human being here. Any NSA fuckers, go fuck yourself. I'm allowed to put together the materials that I need to build my own craft, to build my own spaceship, because I am a sovereign human being, and I don't give a fuck what stupid restrictions you guys try and impose on people. I don't want to have anything to do with your stupid agenda that goes on this planet. I have the right to access to the universe, to the cosmos out there, to go and communicate and exchange with other like-minded beings out there that I would like to communicate with. So yeah, look. I'm just expressing my own right as a sentient being.